Good morning. Thank you for taking a few moments with me today. Do you know when you're going to go to a new place, there's always leaving an old place? In fact, that really is a very simple physical law that if I'm going to enter into a different location, I have to exit the location I'm currently at. Very simple, but yet profound, and we need to understand that. And so when God draws you into a new place, then that means you're going to be leaving another place. And we need to understand the leaving is just as important, if not more important, than the entering into, because the leaving a place is directed by God. And unless we leave that place, we cannot enter into the new place. You know, when we look at the Israelites, there's a whole book on an exit, the Exodus. And the Israelites were making an exodus out of Egypt in order to enter into the promised land. Now, when it came time for them to make that exit, the enemy was there to try to hold them back. And if he couldn't hold them back, then he wanted to bring them into compromise. And no, this exodus was happening on God's terms, God's way. And as the Israelites followed God's terms, God's way, they successfully made that exodus. They crossed over the Red Sea and they were headed towards the promised land. Now we understand that it was the second generation that had entered into the promised land. See, here's what happened is when Israel left Egypt, they still had Egypt in their heart. As long as you have what you're leaving in your heart, you'll always have the opportunity to go back to it. So they had their past pulling on them and their future pulling on them, and it got them stuck right in the middle in the desert where they died. But that second generation, they went and they crossed on over and they went into the promised land. So child of God, what's God calling you to do? What changes is he calling you to make? It may not be a physical location, but it could be an attitude, a new place in the gifts of the Holy Spirit is stretching you forth, a new place in your finances and your health. But it will always require this. You're going to need to leave one place, lay one thing down, and lay something down in order to enter into what he's leading you into. It really is exciting. I love you, and I look forward to being with you again on Wednesday.